Hello and welcome to Catalogic's WebEx covering the topic of CryptoSpike, where we're going to be looking at ransomware protection and user auditing for NetApp systems. Very simple agenda for today. I'll provide an overview of the CryptoSpike technology to set the scene really before William will then run into a live demonstration of the product. So within our portfolio, we have three NetApp tools. CryptoSpike is the one we'll be focusing on today, but we do also have Restore Manager, which is really all around file cataloging, search, and one-click recovery from NetApp systems, alongside another product, Data Analyzer, which is really all around reporting, analytics, and looking at the trends and data analysis within your NetApp systems. But for the point of today, we'll take a close look at CryptoSpike. So just to set the scene around ransomware, it's a problem that's only getting bigger and not going away. As we see here, every 40 seconds, a company will get infected with ransomware in some way. And it's really how you deal with that and get back to a good known state in the best possible way that's going to benefit your business. And you know, it's across the board. It's big organizations here like Florida City, $600,000. Hydro at the bottom, they think 52 million as a result of their cyber attack. And then in the middle here in the UK recently, the police forensic network was also hit. So it is across the board. It's public sector, it's commercial, and it's large and small. And the type of people who are behind it, generally organized criminals who are doing this for a living and infecting people and then making money out of it. And if they're successful, they'll continue doing it. Also, hackers, and then, you know, there's also thought that this could also be state-sponsored hackers. So this is an issue that we look to address with the CryptoSpike product. So just as a real headline, CryptoSpike highlights what we do is what we call real-time detection of ransomware for NetApp file systems. By that, we mean that we can identify and stop the spread of a ransomware attack very quickly, block the user, and then very quickly recover just the affected files from the NetApp snapshots. Another area that's of real interest with this product is, due to the nature of the product, we're able to look at access and data transparency within the system. That means that we can see who is accessing what, when they're accessing it, and things like file opens, file closed, moving data, etc. So from a NetApp infrastructure point of view, it's very easy to see what's going on within that infrastructure. So firstly, just looking at the user and data access transparency, we're effectively monitoring and logging all of those accesses, so reads, writes, opens, etc. So if we took an example there of a disgruntled employee who's looking to leave the organization, and are they starting to copy data from one place, take databases away with them, for example, we can very easily see that behavior, and we can remediate that problem very, very easily. So there's a real value in the user and data access transparency piece of this product. Now looking at the ransomware side, this is a big concern for a number of organizations now, and I think everybody is kind of in the firing line. So it's really about how you deal with it. And it tends to infect kind of through the back door, you know, a cleverly worded email, and employees clicking on that email, opening up an attachment or something, and that very quickly can spread into the entire file system and cause, as we've seen on the earlier slides, some major issues. On the right here are some of the typical ransomware types that we see in most environments. So CryptoSpike has three main elements that protects us from ransomware. Firstly, a blacklist. The blacklist really is a list of known ransomware types. So this is really stopping ransomware at the front door for any currently known types of ransomware. It's updated on a regular basis. And you can also add in, manually add in those filters as well. So this is our kind of first port of defense. Now, as this is a kind of constantly moving target, what we find is that there will be new types of ransomware coming out. So we also have a whitelist. Now, this can be very granular in its effects, but effectively what we're saying with the whitelist is only allow particular file types. So if you've got particular shares where you just want your users to be using, for example, PowerPoint files, documents, etc., just lock them down to those, and then we won't let anything else into that area. Now, should something get into the system, we have this learner module, an AI module, if you like, and this monitors behavior. So it starts to learn typical user behavior within the environment. If we start to see something that looks unusual, i.e. a large amount of writes within a very short period of time, what we can do is very quickly recognize that, stop the spread of the ransomware, and cut off that user's access. Now, what we can then do is, by looking at how the files that have been infected, is very easily recover to a good known state quickly and easily. So effectively, we block the user, we take them off the network, and then we're very easily able to see exactly which files have been infected. So if you like, we've stopped that spread, and then we can very easily identify just the files that have been infected. Now, in a traditional NetApp environment, you would have to recover the entire volume to get back to a good known state. With CryptoSpike, we're just taking those infected files and rolling those back using snapshot technology. And that's what we'll show you as we go through the demo. So very quickly, we can identify the user that's infected, we can stop the spread, we can pull them out of the network, and we can recover that data quickly and easily back to a good known state. So just a little touch on licensing. This is licensed very, very simply. We just license per controller. So if looking at this slide, we've got 4 tiers, tier 0s through to tier 3, and it's done on a subscription basis. So really, really simple. We just need to know how many filers you have, how many controllers, and then we just license that on a monthly subscription. So if you have certain filers that are due to reach their end of life in, say, 16 months, and another area that may be 32 months, we can very easily just license those subscriptions based on that timing. If you'd like to see more on the pricing, please contact myself or Will once you've looked at the WebEx. So that's a real quick introduction. I'll now hand over to Will, who will walk us through a demonstration of the software. So over to you, Will.
Thanks, Richard. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to run over a quick overview of the architecture of CryptoSpike, how the product works, and then from there, I'm going to run into a demonstration to show you the capabilities of the product and what we can do with the product. So the typical NetApp environment shown here, we've got a HA pair. We then have our CryptoSpike server, centralized management point, single pane of glass to manage the system. From here, you can run through the setup wizard, you can add your cluster in, you can set up your F-policy servers, and from there, you can manage the system. You can also, from here, view blocked users, so any users that have been completing actions that they shouldn't be on the SVMs, volumes, and shares that are being monitored. Effectively, they will be blocked. You've got your file history in here as well, so you can look through who's been completing what actions. So every SMB transaction that takes place is monitored. You can be, again, specific in here and only monitor specific transactions like creates, reads, and writes, but we go through and monitor everything by default, and I'll show you that in a second in the demonstration. We've also got file recovery capabilities as well in here. So any files that are potentially marked as infected by a blocked user, you can go back and restore. Real cool capability here as well is that you're not recovering the entire volume. You're only recovering the files that have been impacted by that potentially infected user. And you can complete configuration and management as you'd expect in here. So we've got the capability to set up alerting, send reports via email. But we can also integrate via syslog with existing SIEM platforms as well. So that's a pretty cool capability. We've also got the F-policy servers sat within here as well. So effectively they're what connect into the NetApp environment, what the Blacklist filters through. None of this is in path though, so none of it is impacting in terms of access times. Everything, as you'd expect within here, is very low impact. And in terms of those two servers, they're both very small. They're not very small footprints. So the CryptoSpike server itself only needs 8 vCPUs and 4 GB of RAM, and the F-policy servers need 4 vCPUs and 4 GB of RAM. So in terms of the product itself, as Richard went through, we've got a whitelist and we've got the capability to be incredibly granular with that. So we can apply the whitelist to a cluster, SVM, shares or volumes. So if you've got a department, say the marketing department, and they're only specifically utilizing a specific share to store PDF, XLS, and .doc files, within there you can set the whitelist up, apply the whitelist to that share, and only those file types can then be stored on that share. In terms of the CryptoSpike server, that communicates back to a CryptoSpike manager, which is centrally managed. That controls the license management, the ability to add new customers, and also blacklist updates on there. The blacklist itself is collected from different websites. That contains over 2,000 known file types and patterns that are associated with ransomware at this point in time. It's updated on a daily basis and pushed down from the CryptoSpike manager into your CryptoSpike server, and then from there pushed to the F-policy servers, and that has to be pushed out then into the environment, as we see in the demonstration here. And then probably the coolest thing about the product for me is the pattern learner. So we've attempted to block the ransomware at the front door with all known types of ransomware and patterns with the blacklist. There's a lot of known patterns, there's a lot of known file types that are sat on there. But the pattern learner itself, obviously, because we're monitoring all S&P transactions, starts to understand what a specific pattern is for a user. And if they've come in one morning and we start to see multiple reads, multiple writes taking place, and then performing more activities than they typically would, that user can then specifically be blocked due to those operations. And we'll show this in a demonstration. I've got a manipulation script that shows you after around 25 to 30 operations that are seen, if it's then over the threshold as abnormal, then that user will be blocked. Also with the products as well, it's important to say that we can set it up in asynchronous mode, so it just monitors and shows you the actions that would have taken place. So if you're thinking about rolling this out but are worried about the impact it's going to have on the environment, we can be incredibly safe in terms of the way it's rolled out, showing you what actions would have taken place and what's happening in the environment before you then make it live as well. And that's an overview of the architecture. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run it into a demonstration. So upon logging into the product, this is what we're presented with. It's very simple to use. Simplicity is key with the product. Everything within the product is set up in a tile basis. So if we want to drill down into anything within the environment with CryptoSpike, we can. So the first thing I'm going to look into is the cluster setup. So within here, it's incredibly simple to add a new cluster. All we need is the IPv4 address, the username and password, and then select your security type. So on here, I'm going to go down to one of the SVMs that I have effectively set up monitoring for at this point in time. So you can see there's 2 F-policy servers associated with that. The engine type's in synchronous mode. We have the blacklist applied and the analyzer enabled. So the AI analyzer enabled in here. And you can see we're monitoring all read, write, open, close, create, delete, rename, link, symlink, and lookup operations on here. So every SMB transaction that's taking place on that specific SVM, those operations are all being monitored. So as I say, incredibly granular. If we wanted to apply the whitelist rather than the blacklist on here, we could as well. You can apply specifically to volumes as well within here. So if we drill down into a volume, we've got the same capability on that as well. So in here, we can apply either the whitelist or the blacklist in here. And we can also do that as well, specifically at the entire cluster level if you wanted to do that as well. So very granular in terms of the way we can go about ensuring monitoring is taking place and ensuring the correct action is taking place on the environment. So what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to quickly run into and show you the blacklist. So in here you can see there's 2,193 specific file types and patterns at this point in time that have been blacklisted. So what you can do as well in here, if you want to add your own specifically blacklisted file types or patterns within here, that's possible. You can specifically disable as well if there's anything within here that you think, okay, that shouldn't be blacklisted. That can be disabled, and again, that's key during the initial period when you set up the product. If you put it into asynchronous mode, set up the monitoring, you kind of say, okay, well, we're specifically seeing that file within our environment, that file type, potentially that is valid. You can disable that. We don't typically see that, obviously, but that capability is in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up my specific share. You should now be able to see that on the screen. So I've got a logo that's sat in here at this point in time. It's effectively the Capitalogic logo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and rename that to a known bad file extension that is on the blacklist. So if I do that, I'll attempt to change it. You'll see within here I've been blocked from doing that straight away. Try again and keep trying. It's not letting that file type be stored specifically on that file. So within here now, right, try and access, as you can see. Now, I've now effectively been locked out from there, so I can no longer access that share within there. So if I go into my environment, and if I go into block users, you can see on here, my user has now been blocked. We can look into the reasoning, and we can see on here, we've exceeded a specific count, and we've been basically hit a filter that's blocked, so we've star.crypto for that file, and that's the reason I have been blocked at this time. See the date there now is today. So I go back, if I drill down into my user, again, I can specifically see the operations that have taken place within here, and you can also look at the reads and the creates and open and closes if you want. So it's prevented that action from taking place, and it's blocked that user. So potentially if a user had been infected, straight away that piece of ransomware is attempting to use the file type that they're going to utilize to start spreading the ransomware and encrypting the files in the environment. We've got the capability to block that at the front door. So I'm going to unblock myself now, obviously, because I want to carry on the demonstration. So that user's now been re-enabled. If I go back to my share, you can see on here, I've got access again, and my logo is still there in the same file type format. So that's blocking at the front door. The next thing I'm going to run through is effectively the AI module, and what we do if we start to see abnormal patterns for users. So I've got a manipulation script here that's going to run with my user. It's going to attempt to manipulate files in the test1 and test2 directory, and what I'll do is I will get those up as well. So we're going to test1. So you can see in here the last modified date on here was on the 16th. Today's the 17th, so I'm going to run this, and you'll start to see some of the files in here be modified. So that should run for a few seconds before it starts to realize that that is actually not a typical operation for my user. So we'll start to see some of the files be updated in there. There you go. Straight away, you can see that user has now been denied and blocked from performing any operations in there. But obviously, there are some files in here that have been touched. If we look, so there's effectively a set of text files in here on the 17th that have been allowed to be created within there or modified. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back in. I'll refresh in here. You see my user's been blocked again, obviously. We drill down, you can see there's 23 writes that have taken place and 1 rename. And you can see in here then the files that have been touched by that. So what we've got the capability in here now to do, which is a really powerful capability of the product, is to actually recover those files back from a previous snapshot to ensure that they go back to a good state. And we're not actually recovering the whole volume from that snapshot, just these specific files. And it's a very quick process to do. So if I specifically do a select all on there, I'll do a restore. It will bring up then, and it will ask me to select the snapshot I want to use. The best candidate will always be the last snapshot before the file was modified, or you can untick and you can specifically select the snapshot you want to utilize. But for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to use the best candidate here. You can also be wanted to restore to a different path. Again, for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to recover to the original path within here. So click on restore. You can see in here, those 24 files have been recovered successfully. So if I now go back, unblock my user. If I go into here, you see previously, obviously, those specific files have been on there. Go back to date modified on them. You should see now everything's now gone back to the 16th. So those files have gone back to the original state they're in. So that's how quick and easy it is to recover in the event of a ransomware attack taking place via the AI module. This obviously, for me, is all about deep learning within the environment, all about ensuring that user operations, there's not something abnormal going on in the environment, catching that and stopping it very quickly. This is a really advanced capability of the product and really a differentiator for it. So the final thing I'm going to show in terms of the demonstration is I'm going to go back into my share. I'm going to delete my Catalogic logo. Now this could be obviously a really important file to the business. It might be that we're running a new marketing campaign and we need that logo for that marketing campaign. So if I run into the reports, look at the file activity, marketing manager's panicking. She's saying to me, where's my file gone? I need this file for a rollout. We can look through and we can drill down and see what's happened in the environment in terms of actions that have taken place within here. So if I do a sort within here, if we look through, we can start seeing, so there's an SMB delete transaction taking place on that file via myself, and we can then see the path for that file. So we can see the specific user who's done that. So what we can do now is we can go through, we can go into active users, find that user, drill down into him. We can then see, okay, well that file there has specifically been deleted. Now I'll change that just to delete from there. You can see we've got the deleted file there now. So that important file, we've easily found who deleted it, where it was, and then we've got the capability to restore that as well within here. So bang, if we restore that, it's been restored. We go back in, our file is now back there and available. So that's how slick and easy it is to basically find files within the environment. The file activity has search functions within there, so we can look specifically at the SMB delete transactions. We can specifically also look at specific users and areas as well in terms of shares. So we've got the capability to drill down very deep with that and ensure that the information can be quickly found within an environment, which is obviously for a lot of NetApp administrators quite a tiresome job at times. And that's really the three key things I want to show you about the product in terms of how it works. And I'll hand back over to yourself now, Rich, in terms of just running through the last bits.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Will. Excellent demonstration. I hope that you can all see that this is a very kind of lightweight, simple, but very effective tool for combating ransomware. Also with that added value of being able to see all of those user transactions within the environment. And really, just as a close here, in terms of resources, I've put some links into this pitch in terms of where to go. So the Catalogic site, there's the resources pages. You can have a 30-day free trial. Just again, log on to catalogicsoftware.com. Go to free trial and just fill in a simple form and we can try that out. And also data sheets, etc. Then contacts here, so myself, Richard Wallace, and William, who's done the demonstration today. If you need any more information, please contact us, whether that be pricing, whether that be technical, we're here to help. So on that note, thank you very much for attending and hopefully we'll be in touch with you soon. Thanks very much. Take care.
Thanks all. Bye.